Hi guys, I'm Giovanna Caroline Domingues Saito, but you can call me G, as I said before. I'm going to presenting our video project one, and this is the UC Davis, USP, and USFQ's Journal Club. So we are from Group One, and the Group One is made up for Mary Francis, Thelma Teal, Martina, Mariana Antunes, and me, Giovanna Caroline Domingues Saito. The plants we chose was blueberry from United States, Ipê from Brazil, and Guayusa from Ecuador. So I'm going to start with Ipê. Ipê is a Brazilian tree that we also called as pau de arco amarelo or Ipê amarelo flor de algodão, which amarelo means yellow in English. So we called amarelo because the Ipê tree has yellow flowers, as we see here in this picture. So this tree is also found in Atlantic forest at the major part, but we can find this tree at the Amazon, at the Cerrado and Pantanal too. Here we have a map from Brazil, and every black dot is where we can find Ipê tree. So we can find Ipê tree at the north and the south and all of the country. Every black dot is where we can find the Ipê tree, as I said. So at the Acre, Amazonia, Mato Grosso, Paraná, São Paulo, Minas Gerais. This tree is a little bit bigger, so it's a bigger tree because this tree can be up to 30 meters height, and we use this tree for reforestation, landscaping, timber, and this tree also has medical properties. Um, where I used to live in Brazil, in Sorocaba, we had this tree and in a lot of avenues, for example. So we use a lot of this tree here in Brazil. And this tree is so important for reforestation.
Now I'm going to talk about the challenge and our research proposal. For the peach bloom, it undergoes severe leaf drop and then blooms, typically during the driest times of the year. Since this drastic factor is still unexplained, as a base used for reforestation, the dispersal of the species is important, hence understanding its flowering. The resources we have for Ipê are scarce. At the moment, we have comparative population genomes between two species of Ipês, Androanthus cerratifolius e Tabuia aurea, and we have analysis of phenotypic classes under water stress through the analysis of different stress chains in four Ipê species, Androanthus cerratifolius, Tabuia aurea, Androanthus impetigiosus, and Androanthus orcaceus, showing different species growth. And then there's one more information show about the flowering and germination that relates the Ipê tree with other species. Our research proposal is to analyze of different expressed genes, that ones that we have resource before and after flowering during dry periods, but also observe the expression of leaves in irrigated ipês and to determine if there will be flowering.
Okay, let's talk about a little bit of Guayusa or Ilex guayusa. It's a medical and cultural significant tree in Ecuador and holds a resemble to yerba mate that's used in Argentina, and is traditionally infused into a beverage as a tea. Known for its energizing properties due to caffeine and theobromine content, and it also offers various benefits to the health, such as relaxation, diuresis, and antioxidant properties. It's endemic primarily to Napo province in Ecuador. It had been primarily consumed domestically here in Ecuador, but have seen exportations to USA and health beverage over the past 15 years. Okay, let's talk about the challenges for Ilex Guayusa. Ilex Guayusa encourages different primarily because it can only be propagated through cuttings, resulting in a moderated genetic diversity and vulnerability to fungi infections. This challenge is due to the cloning propagation methods and the impact of human intervention, leading to isolated gene pool influenced by environmental conditions. Here is our research proposal, but we have some limitations due to the regulations here in Ecuador, but we attempt to perform mutagenesis using X-ray, then conduct trials to identify mutant plants capable of surviving, then sequence the genotypes of all the plants, and then compare mutants between tribe mutants, non-tribe mutants, and the original genome to identify beneficial losses. Then conduct additional rounds of mutagenics and use genotyping to target beneficial mutants. Utilize genotyping to select instead of time-consuming field trials, and then accelerate the process to bring more adapted version of Guayusa to farmings and the efforts to reforestate.
Hi, now we're going to move on to blueberries. So blueberries are in the Vaccinium genus. They are an agricultural crop now. They're considered a superfood because they're high in antioxidants. And blueberries are native to North America, and they were foraged by Native Americans for thousands of years, but it was never domesticated. And this is what's really interesting, is it was hard to domesticate. But in 1912, Frank Koval, a botanist, was able to domesticate them by figuring out what they needed to do, what they needed to survive, and it was really acidic soil, so in the 4 to 5 pH range. And then blueberries started taking off. By the 1950s, they had, developed a market or developed an agricultural area in the Pacific Northwest and Michigan, so colder, moister places. By the 2010s, the range had grown, and you can see here in this map that it's expanded to more warmer places like California, Florida, Georgia. And it also has spread around the world, so people in Europe, in China, in Australia, and South America also grow this crop. In 2020, the US's market for blueberries produced $4.7 billion, and that was produced on about 12,000 farms in the US. There are 3 types of blueberries. There's high bush, low bush, and rabbit eye, which has some variety, and they all have sort of different traits. All right, moving on to the challenges that we identified in blueberries. The biggest challenge we identified is actually climate change. Over the past 25 years, the temperature has been rising at 4 times the rate it has in the previous 150 years. So it's increasing quickly. And blueberry has a few interesting characteristics. It has required chill hours, so it has to have a certain amount of hours in the hundreds where it needs to experience cold in order to flower. And there have been breeding efforts to make that less of a requirement or not a requirement, as evidenced by the fact that it now grows it can be grown in places like Florida. Another one is that it's really susceptible to drought. They don't have root hairs, and the roots are generally shallow. Now, there has been work in breeding to also work on this, but climate is changing quicker than breeding programs can usually keep up with. So we want to look at kind of the genetic trade-off that we want to look into, which is maintaining taste, but also meeting climate change range changes and other things.
So amongst all of these challenges, we can use the resources available at UC Davis to address some of the consumer needs. For example, we can use the genomics resources at UC Davis in order to sequence the Pacific Northwest germplasm that's already been grown in the area. From there, we could conduct field phenotyping for different agronomic traits like yield and perhaps resistance to certain disease pressures. as well as flavor profiling and metabolomics to understand what sorts of compounds are in the fruits themselves and how consumers react to them. From there, the idea is to find alleles and allelic states that are associated with beneficial traits of interest, and from there, increase the frequency of those beneficial allelic states in the population, and do so with a breeding approach that's mindful of different trade-offs. Perhaps there's a trade-off between things like shelf life and transportability and flavor or particular drought or disease pressure resistance. So these are the sorts of things that can be kept in mind, and these resources are available at UC Davis because there are several crop breeding and specialty crop breeding resources here. And all of these things can be used in order to find varieties that are resistant to climate change and the associated pressures, including osmotic and heat stresses, as well as disease pressures, and that have the transportability factor so that they could be transported to international markets, since we learned through this project that blueberries are a desired fruit in many different markets around the world.
So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. Bye.